In this video, we are going to talk about how you can access your IIS applications from outside your organization. And we are going to focus mainly on our application software called OfficeClip, which runs on the IIS. And many of our small business customers have asked us the same question, how they can access OfficeClip running inside their firewall. OfficeClip is a software to manage your customers, employees, and also manage your support tickets. IIS, or Internet Information Services, is a software provided by the Windows operating system. By default, Windows locks down the IIS to the local environment. This video will show how to make it accessible from outside your environment. We have a few requirements for being able to do this. In this video, we'll go through them one by one. So we'll talk about getting the IP address of your local machine first. Then we will have to add a rule to your Windows firewall or whatever firewall you may be using. And then we may have to change the router configuration unless your machine is directly connected to the internet. Now, if that is so, we'll talk about what is the difference between static IP address and dynamic IP address. And then finally, we'll talk about a few more options that if you need an SSL certificate to be able to access OfficeClip in a more secure fashion, or you may also want to install OfficeClip into a private cloud like AWS or Azure, etc. So the first thing is you need to know the IP address of your machine. So in order to do that, you bring up a Windows command prompt by typing CMD on the search box on the Windows at the bottom left, and then you will get a screen like this. So just type IP config. Once you type it, you need to be looking at IP v4 address, which is 192.168.2.136, and this is the IP address of your machine. Next up, we need to go to your Windows firewall and create a rule in the firewall so that whenever outside traffic comes to port number 80, which is HTTP, or port number 443, assuming you have already installed the SSL certificate, it will come through. Windows is not going to stop that. So in order to do that, you bring up the Windows Defender firewall with advanced security, and then you have to add a rule here. I already added a rule, but I'm going to show you how to do it. Click on new rule here. And when you get to the new rule, just select the port here, go next, and I'm just going to go to port number 80, or you can also put 443 if you are interested in HTTPS, and select TCP here and go next. Then click allow the connection, and then you select all three of these. Then you click on give a name. For example, this is HTTP incoming, something like that, or HTTPS incoming. Write the description and click on finish. You are going to get a rule here which will allow the incoming traffic coming in from outside. In order to test that quickly, you need to now go to your router so that all the traffic coming from outside your organization is going to be directed to your machine. Every router is little different, so I'm going to show you one router here. What we'll be looking at mostly is called port forwarding, and my router is ASUS router, so it is under WAN here. So you have to create a service here. So I have created it here, like you put in my laptop here, and then you put the IP address here, which you want to come inside, which is 80. Then this is the local IP address, which is my machine here, and this is the local port number 80 again. This is the external port, this is the inside port, and these two ports are different because suppose you have two different machines in your organization. You want to reach one machine using say port number 30,000, so you put 30,000 here, put that machine IP address here, and then local port is always 80. Local port is the port of this machine. And then finally put TCP IP, click on plus here, and you'll find an entry here. So this is one configuration you have to do on your router. Once you have done that, you need to know the external IP address of your internet. So in order to do that, type whatismyip.com. So it is going to show you an IP address here. So that is your external IP address. So to sum up, all we have done is we have first of all tested OfficeClip is working locally. Then we went to the cmd command and got the IP address, IPv4 address. Then we went to the firewall and created a rule, and then we went to the router and created a port forwarding rule, and finally we went to the what is my IP to see the IP address. So this is currently your external IP address. Now at this point we can do a quick test to see OfficeClip is working or not. So I'm going to type this external IP address over here in my local machine. So instead of localhost, I'm going to type the external IP address. I'm not typing the internal IP address. Of course, you can do that. And once I do that, I get this OfficeClip login. So my external IP is correct and everything, my router configuration is correct, my firewall is correct, and everything is coming to this machine. Now you can go from outside and put this IP address there /OfficeClip, and you can access OfficeClip even with your mobile device, or directly you can do it on your browser. There is one more problem. If you have a static IP address and your machine is connected to the internet directly, that's fine. But nowadays what happens is many service providers, they change this IP address periodically. So what happens is when they change, this IP address will not work again. So you have to go and find out using whatismyip.com and then find out and then again put it here to access OfficeClip. Now that is not very practicable. So there are workaround for this that is called dynamic domain, and in order to get the dynamic domain, you cannot do it yourself. You have to get it from a third-party provider. There are quite a few free dynamic domain provider available, and I'm going to use one of them, and you can do your own research to find out what others are available. And sometimes your router may also have some dynamic provider which will take care of a lot of things for you. So I'm not going into the details of that right now. There is one thing called duckDNS. So you go to duckdns.org and you create a subdomain here. So subdomain needs to be unique because a lot of people are using it for free. So I have created one, OC12345, and so your IP address will be your domain name will be http oc12345.duckdns.org. So let's try that. I'm coming fine here, so everything is fine after I created it. Now this still does not solve the dynamic IP address problem because this is taking the current IP address from your current machine. Now when it changes, unless you go to the screen and update this IP, it is not going to do it. So in order to avoid that, what you do is they have given you a program here which you can install on your machine, which will keep track of your external IP address, and it will automatically update this duckDNS server, so you don't have to do anything at all. So in order to do that, you click on install here and you select your Windows GUI here. Now once you select the Windows GUI, you go down and there will be the installation from here. You can download this from here and you can install it on your machine. Now once you install it on your machine, what will happen is it is going to give you a window here, and this window which will be in your system tray at the bottom right, and when you right click on it and say change settings, you can put your domain name whatever you have selected in duckDNS, and also it gives you a token. You have to give your token name, and then you can put the refresh interval like maybe 5 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever, and then you can show the update notification. Yes, if you do, whenever there is an update, it is going to show you on your Windows notification, and then click OK. Once you do that, then it will be foolproof and you don't have to change it at all. You can access OfficeClip with the domain you selected in duckDNS. Now this concludes the portion of how do you set this up for external access. Few more things I want to mention here, that for security reasons, you may want to have an SSL certificate. Nowadays, SSL certificates are very inexpensive. You can get it from about maybe anything between $10 to $50, depending on the features you need. And then you have to install the certificate in your IIS, Internet Information Services. And this video is not going to go into the details of that. If there is interest, I'll make a future video on how to do that. And finally, another option, if you don't want to go through all these hassles and don't want to maintain OfficeClip yourself on your machine, you can also install it on a private cloud like Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure. So with that, I conclude this video. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, just send us at support@officeclip.com.